All right, I believe we're live. And so today I've been promising to discuss a little bit about the emergency housing voucher. I also have something interesting I want to show you guys that I promised in a prior video, and it's in our delivery box here, and I'm hoping to show you that in a little bit. So today we're talking about emergency housing voucher for people at risk that at this point is going fairly quick. Under the American Act that we did earlier in 2021, it allowed for the United States government to fund approximately 70,000 vouchers. With that 70,000 vouchers, we knew it would roll through quickly. I would estimate somewhere between 3 to 5,000 a month. So we know at this point around 26,000 people have actually utilized. Another 35, close to, I'd say about 30,000 have are in the hunt for housing at this point. So by fair estimation and numbers, I would say we have approximately 4 months before the remaining 9,000 EHV vouchers have been dispersed, and people would be able to utilize those to get housing quicker than you likely would with approaching a housing authority and waiting an extended period of time. One of the more curious things about EHVs is the emergency housing voucher was initially something that was issued by housing authorities. That was relegated back to the continuum of care, and primary focus was anybody that was experiencing the possibility of homelessness. You don't necessarily have to be under a bridge. You don't have to be living in a homeless shelter, but a lot of people, when we decided to evict up to 40 million people during the pandemic, whether they lost homes because they couldn't pay their mortgage, or they were being in the process of eviction from their apartments, unable to pay, and even in some mild cases, people that actually already had a voucher couldn't pay. So, at this point, we have 9,000 left, and the only place that you can typically utilize is going to be through the continuum of care, which is typically issued through the program Housing First. On administration of the program itself, you would have to contact one of the agencies handling it, which would be the continuum of care in each state. Now, they typically do require a great number of questions, and in return, you would be exchanging those answers. And given the right answers, you would likely become a very high candidate. Now, the success or failure rate of continuum of care can be a little bit crazy. Unlike housing authorities, where you fill out an application, which you answer questions on a piece of paper versus you speaking to somebody, they're going to be basing it on certain preferences. If you're not keenly aware of what preferences there are, then you may not do very well. In fact, a lot of people don't do that well with attempting to do this on their own. So I digress a little bit. I want to say this. This is the point of the video is not for me to sell anybody anything, but I should do my introductions before we go any further. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. I'm widely known across the country by nearly every housing authority. I have over 600 videos, and I think that my reputation at this point is distinguished. I work with between 700 to 1,000 clients a year, and this is one of the issues that I address with clients more often than I'd like to say. So I have posted links, of course, in the channel and throughout videos if you guys are struggling with this and don't want to go through the process alone with it, okay? Now let's get back to the primary topic about the EHVs. One of the important factors we should be considering is you have to be assessed, which means they have a metric, which is a tool. Sometimes it's SPDAT, sometimes it's the BOSS system. In other words, they have an operational manual that has questions in it that if you don't give the exacting answers to, then you may go up or down and be considered for a multitude of different types of housing. One of the lowest tiers of housing they could potentially offer you when you contact continuum of care. And remember, I continuum of care very loosely because the acronyms they use for every county and every state may be different. In fact, you can be in the same state and they can go by a wide variety of names, which means that it would render your possibility of typing in emergency housing voucher per se for your city, and what you may end up with is not the results that you were looking for. Beyond that, One of the things that our company is very curious about is we do keep the metric in testing tools they have. So that gives me the ability to know preferentially what type of answers should be given in order to get this. I would say the pursuit of utilizing somebody like our company to get one of these does end up better off. However, you still must qualify for things. So this is not a regime of lying or trying to break federal law. It just means that wouldn't it be nice if you preferentially knew the answers before you arrived? If you did, then I think the outcome would be much different. The problem that most humans have, including myself, is we think in a very linear pattern. And when we think in that linear pattern and we take that type of assessment, we often try to give emotional answers or we try to plead our case. Unfortunately, the test is designed in a very different way. So your sob story, I don't mean to be so ruthless, but your long story, your empathetic story, does not factor into whether or not that should be a voucher. Okay, it's actually based on a lot of factors that you would never dream of, and that's why I think a lot of people have done so poorly. Now, as long as people continue to go searching for the emergency housing voucher, here's the interesting part about most of these vouchers. Most of the vouchers were likely given to people that they preferentially, so the continuum of care is already dealing with people. So preferentially, they're kind of picking and choosing, cherry picking those that they'd like to give it to. And so in that case, the worker could make the deciding factor, even if that person failed. How that goes badly is you're leaving it in the hands of people that already do not like their job. They may have other biases in place, and so we play the game of preference. The approach, from my perspective of helping people see the operation now, how they run, how they operate, all the questions, all the answers, would be likely that even if they didn't like you, they would have no other choice. The testing does require a system of points. That points are entered into HIMS system. That system is an algorithm. It doesn't see age, color, disability, and other issues. So if you were to score high enough, it wouldn't matter what the worker thought about you. You wouldn't be biased out, okay? And trust me, anytime you deal with a voucher and housing authorities or the continuum of care, there's always going to be things in place that could potentially bias you on these things. And so I would say we're probably success rates around 97%. Now, if you're trying to assess while you're under the influence of alcohol or drugs or you're not having your best day mentally, that could conceivably be a bad outcome for you. So let me take a breather for a moment. I'd like to show y'all what I wanted to show you on that last video that I didn't get an opportunity to do. So many of you know I inject a little bit of my personal life into videos, and you'll know that I rescue cats. So I attempted to show our newest kittens. One of my cats are pregnant, so this will only be brief when we get back to the facts of the case. So I had to kind of put them up here in a little basket. There they are. I know they're a little bit hard to see, but I wanted to show you all. A lot of people were curious about the kittens and how they were doing. So one of my 19 cats became pregnant. It was her first pregnancy, so there were a low number of kittens. So, anyways, this was just something I wanted to include in the video. Maybe they'll get up in a minute and talk to you guys. Move around a little bit for you. So, yes. And so, getting back to this, we have 9,000 emergency housing vouchers. Okay, the smaller the number of these, the harder it is to convince these people to give it to you. So you have a couple of options available. One, you could navigate the internet and try this on your own. Okay, it means you're taking a shot in the dark. People may or may not like you, and you may or may not have the best answers, or you could try. Number two, you could actually meet all the critical factors and be that magical person that does score high enough just on your own steam. That's a rarity. And the third option is you could reach out to us or a company if you wish to, or another consultant. It doesn't have to be necessarily. Okay. I think that our timeline with this at this point for the evaporation. So we started with 70,000 in 2021. We've burned through approximately 61,000 of these. We have 35,000 that right now are in a shaky market, which may be coming or going. That leaves us approximately 9,000. I think that we have potentially 4 months before this evaporates. One thing's for sure, I do believe that what's remaining will terminate at the end of the year. So what does it actually mean? It means that the quicker path to housing, skip the 15-year wait vouchers, will likely dissipate at the end of the year. So if you're at this point considering utilizing the system, I would say investigate. First thing is key in continuum of care. If you want to try to see if you can search around and see if you can find in their operational manuals, and obviously make contact so you can get an assessment by a housing coordinator and see whether or not you or your family would be able to get one. If you're unable to do all those things, then you can reach out to somebody like myself or my company. We can try to help you with that and get you through the process. I know that we've been successful, thousands of times already, so I'm not particularly worried. But beyond that, I believe that EHVs, or emergency housing vouchers, will move back to the housing authorities. Once it's relegated back to those guys, it'll go back to the old system of things, and that will be on referral. On referral means that you'd need to have a county referral or some other agency with quite a bit of power to refer to be able to get to this. So in other words, it's going to get harder to get emergency housing vouchers. So I would say that this overwhelming number of vouchers that we have that can quickly be gotten have now gotten to a point where we got 9,000 left across the nation. You got approximately 4 months to snag one if it's possible, and then the game's over. That means we go back into looking at more of other programs like permanent housing, rapid rehousing, and in many varieties of vouchers out there. Like if you're 61 and younger, section 811 subsection, and then you have subsection 202 for those of you who are disabled and seniors, 62 and older. And there's a whole variety. So as I've mentioned in many of my videos, vouchers are simply vouchers. And the numbers you're hearing me discuss, 202, section 811, those are a lot like tax codes or tax regulations. So when you look in a HUD operational manual, they have it the same way the IRS does. Subsection 11, subsection 202. In fact, there's a broad range of numbers that actually go quite high. Experimentally, I've read most of HUD's operational manuals at this point, including their director's reports, and I can tell you that there's at least 135 identifiable funding types, including HUD-MASH, HOPWA, and other things that deal with domestic violence. So, all right, I'm going to move it over to comments. I know a few of you probably have commented. I'm going to try to address a few of those. All right, good morning, Sheila Neal. Hello, everyone. How is your cats? They're doing good. Why don't I rouse them? So I think that the emergency voucher part, we're just going to talk about loosely, and I'm going to show you all the cats cleared. I'm going to answer some questions. Let's see if the kittens would like to visit with us while we do the video. I tell you what, I've had these guys, and I set it up on top of these barrels like this, so they're right by my bed, so I keep an eye on them. They're about a month and a week, and they're just getting to the point where they're like popcorn, wanting to move around. Hello, kids. Papa. Hello. Come on. Come on, kitties. So we got a little bit of movement there. They get a little bit bitchy when you wake them up and there's no dinner. So, but so what I'm going to do is post a couple of links, and then I'm going to start answering these questions. All right. So these are links to my company. Your due diligence is always required when you deal with anybody and their company. So check it out, see what it's about, and see whether or not there's any holds, judgments, liens, federal investigation, the DOJ is involved, whether we're licensed to do so at all. I already know the answer to that after 21 years. So, all right, Sheila Neal, hello, how's everybody? The cats are doing good. Dulce, hello, I have a question. Can someone who is homeless, a child, and a spouse have no income coming in and both parents get EHB? I don't think that would be possible. Most voucher programs require some type of income, or you should be working towards an income. If you are there's no money coming in, no income, then you would likely be relegated to a program called rapid rehousing, where they would likely pay all the rent for several months, and then it would be a distinct payment. So as an example, if they gave you the voucher, say, hey, we know the rent's $1,000, we're going to pay $1,000 for January, February, and March. When April gets here, you need to start getting employed, and we're going to knock down what we pay from 1,000 to 900, and then it may go through several months at 900, and it goes down another tier. Now, how that's administered for nearly every county and housing authority or COC program varies, okay? But that's an example. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Now, on some limited basis, if they do offer you EHB and they have wraparound or support services or federal or state funds, they may opt to be inclusionary of that EHB. In other words, you're granted a voucher, but they're using separate monies to assist you temporarily to get in. And also EHBs, they may also choose to pay deposits, electric deposits, and so on. Okay, those are what we call incentives to landlords. And again, that it changes wildly. You know, we all HUD is what it is. It's a federal agency that receives federal funds. It disperses that to housing authorities. HUD's not giving anybody vouchers. HUD's not putting anybody in homes. HUD just administers the money to the local housing authorities in every county in America. And those county housing authorities where you're actually getting this stuff, that is where these people are county employees or private employees. Again, housing authorities are not HUD and HUD is not them. When there's a problem at a housing authority or with your landlord and you have a complaint, you first take it to your housing authority, the county people. And then if it's a federal matter, a federal violation, then the big dogs get involved, which is HUD. Now, who inside of HUD would handle anything beyond that? That'd be FHEO or Fair Housing. All right, moving on to other comments. See me go. Hi, Jay. Looking forward to our appointment. Get me started on my voucher process. Will we be applying for the EHV? You know, I always like to get the case to the detail because, you know, EHVs are good sometimes, but it's not good for every situation. If you have a rather compelling case file, and I feel that you don't live in an area where it's overstrained, not too many applications are out there, then that may not be the best course of action. There are other types of housing that could be better. Section 811, for an example. EHVs may not be the most appropriate things for seniors, 62 and older. A better option may be to explore vouchers that have inclusionary funding of Section 202. Mary Lou, how are you? I have a disability and I'm in need of immediate help. I understand where you're coming from, Mary, and let me tell you, there's a lot of people. Matter of fact, January through March of 2022, I was hit so hard, I thought the phone was going to melt in my hand. We saw such a response around the nation that I had to go on, I call them vacation, but really it was just going home and sleeping for about a week because the sheer astronomical numbers of people that contacted our office were just wild, and it was nonstop. We were literally on a month wait, hundreds in a week, you know, and we reached a peak of around 10,000 emails month to month. It was nuts. People would get upset. I don't understand why you're not answering the last 41 emails. Do you remember Section 8 Consulting when we sent you an email asking one question? Then we sit there and we open up another email to ask another dumb question. Then we went and did it 55 times within an hour. So you see, sometimes I deal with clients that are neurotic and they do crazy shit like that, and that's why we get 10,000 emails. I'm not saying any of y'all like that, but I thought I'd bring it up. If you want to see my day, it's like a stock ticker watching emails come in, and a lot of it's nonsense, you know. Felix, how are you today? Good morning, and well, I should say good afternoon, right? Felix goes on to say, an apartment manager of a HUD direct funded complex says, I need to prove disability with evidence from SSN. Can they do this? Well, it depends. It sounds like you were addressing a tax credit property, which is a subsidy, and that subsidy would be if they allocated a certain number of their units for disability, then yeah, you would, unless you're actually using a voucher. Again, I don't have enough of your case details to completely know the full scope of this, but potentially yes, potentially no. Dole says, okay, thank you very much. Well, you're most welcome. Mary goes on again to say, my only income is Social Security benefits. Well, you know, let's think about this. A lot of clients, just as an example, a lot of my clients are fixed income, Social Security disability, survivor benefits, pension funds, railroad funds, all kinds of things. I've dealt with clients sometimes that only receive $400 a month, and others that have $3,500. And just as an example, the highest Social Security check I ever heard of, it was stunning. A lady called me from New Jersey. And most of you don't know this. Back in the 80s, they had made an error in the Social Security Administration. They allowed a bunch of people in the state of New Jersey to receive some of the largest Social Security checks that I've ever seen in my life. It was wild. And to this day, people that contact me from Jersey, oh, well, I don't have any money. And then you hear about the check they received. And I'm like, lady, you're doing better. You're doing better than 3 or 4 clients all put together. Anyways, I thought I'd bring that up. L. Hampton, how can clients who have a disability income purchase a home using the voucher? That is a number one question. And that's why a lot of real estate flippers and other things decide to jump in my market as a consultant to talk about the home purchase program. So just to be clear, if you have a voucher, it's not a situation where you walk into Wells Fargo or Bank of America and, hey, I've got a voucher. You need to provide me a home. It doesn't work that way. What happens is the value of the voucher. Think of it like this: when you take that voucher, whether it's physical or digital, and you walk up to that landlord, you're paying a mortgage to the building, right? You're helping him pay his mortgage. Say it's a single home, that voucher helps pays against the mortgage if they owe. So now, if you're going to do the purchase of a home, you go through the standard stuff you would with purchasing a home, but this time, and I call it the best deal in America, your voucher, instead of paying their mortgage, is going to pay yours. But here's the caveat to the deal. There's lots of stuff to go into it. But here's the juicy. The juicy is simply this. So if you're paying out 30% of your income and that voucher's covering the other 70%, then whatever house you purchase, then more than likely that voucher would pay against that mortgage up to 70%. Now, this is a ticking time bomb as well. Take a 15-year conventional loan, or you take a 30-year. I think the max deadline on the housing authority paying your portion of the mortgage would only last 10 to 15 years, depending on the duration. And unlike most typical loans, if you've done this on your own without housing authorities and vouchers, the typical process used to be about a month. That's about a month and a half on standard market. It means you got a job, no voucher involved, right? Now, when you include the housing authority, the classes, and all the people you got involved, plus learning, this can drag on for 4 or 5 months. Okay? So, it is the best deal in America. How else would you get the United States government to pay 70% of your mortgage? But the second thought you're thinking is, well, why don't I get $1 million house and my 70% can be all that? Nope. They're only going to pay 70% of the value of the voucher itself. So if your voucher is good for $1,200 a month, then you're going to have to buy a house with a mortgage that only goes up to $1,200. That's how that works. Either way, anytime you can get the government to pay your mortgage for 10 or 15 years, you should feel blessed, okay? Thinking about it is, guys, if you can survive that 4 or 5 months and get through the process, get your little home, okay, livable, here's the deal. You're no longer paying the landlord's mortgage. You've exited yourself out of Section 8 and you're doing it on your own. So that is what it is. I don't want to get too deep into the home purchase program stuff because there's a lot to that. A few of the clients, roughly 20% of the clients I deal with engage with me. We go through the process. We're doing it for 4 months and they quit for whatever reason. I find that people that are older, seniors especially, 55 and older, do exceptionally well. Because people that are generally retired or possibly retired disabled, they're very persistent. They don't take no, and they come from a different school people, kind of old school, right? So they don't really take any shit or give up. My younger folks, they tend to get a little bit stressed out, and they get real flaky about 2 months. Oh, this is so much work. Well, look, did you expect somebody to pay your mortgage and you just walk along and twirl your hair and your finger? It doesn't work that way. So my younger folks need a dose of reality. But many have made it. So yes, it's possible. But when you look at Section 8, you look at vouchers, you look at emergency housing vouchers, the one reality about all is it's convoluted. There are a lot of speed bumps in the road. It can be stressful. You can't get quite the answers you want. And unlike anything else, even Google itself, your search on Google struggles to give good information. Most of the stuff on Google is outdated. So you're fed a wide range of misinformation. People that write articles about Section 8. We were published in Insider magazine. not a week ago. We were mentioned in there. They asked for my comments. We get comments. We get reporters calling us about once a month. A lot of these articles are a lot like a lot of these other YouTube videos that don't do what I do. They write some nonsense about tips and tricks and bullshit is what it is. And people buy that stuff. They gobble it up. Okay, what's 5 easy steps? And I'm just going to drive. I'm going to my Pinto and I'm going to drive it down to the housing authority and they're just going to print me out a voucher. You've lost your mind. It doesn't work that way. And I know most of you that are grown and connected to reality know that, but so we have a pandemic, we have a housing bubble, we have a potential recession, we have inflation, we have a war going on, we have a country that's got a lot of issues, and we got a president that sleeps most days. And again, I'm not political. I don't get on either side, but 7 different things going on, right? So when has this nation ever faced so many failures all at one time? Now, and then you take all that junk going on, and you think, well, what the hell's that got to do with the voucher? It has a lot to do with it. The housing market is directly tied to how our country does. If you go out here and incentivize half the nation with all this free money and they buy up all the houses, then the prices of all the homes remaining on the market go up, right? Then you have the government that increases interest rates to crazy levels, right? And then people get greedy. You see my point? We're gouging each other by selling our houses way over market value. So the landlord that used to have a $500,000 building, the slumlord had a $500,000 building that barely anybody could even get air conditioning. His building went from $500,000 to $5 million. So now he kicks everybody out. Not only is there a housing shortage, but those landlords remaining in the program or now just, oh, wait a minute, I can now sell this piece of trash and I'll just get rid of everybody with a voucher. See the problem? So what we've done, we've excised the market so tight that it's got difficult. Let me take a drink of coffee. All right, so one thing I'm going to say about that is, since 2000, we've lost 45% of our low-income housing on the market. The pandemic has sped that up. So until we actually start funding vouchers and the housing authorities better through HUD and through Congress, we're going to continue to cut and publish worthless vouchers that aren't worth enough. And so I'm encouraging a lot of you guys that live in these big metropolitan areas to get the voucher and then teleport it. I always say teleport like a Star Trek, but to port it to other areas where things are reasonable. New Yorkers living in broom closets with the rat. You got a mop, a broom, and a rat. And then they put the key in a doorknob and they get a 4x4 room, right? It's nuts. And you pay crazy rent. You come down in somewhere like Texas and you can rent a 4-bedroom house for $1,200. It was built 4 years ago. So why would you intentionally torture yourself? Not only that, but your voucher should be worth more in places like Texas and Oklahoma. So I'm just suggesting sometimes you have to make hard decisions. And remaining in these big metropolitan areas is a bad idea right now because it's going to take quite a while for this country to recover. And that's my opinion. That's not based on any facts. That's just my damn opinion. All right. Mr. and Mrs. Ween says, great appointment yesterday. I still want to apply for housing. Mind if I email you back and with a few extra details? No, absolutely. You're more than welcome to email me. Beautiful Brown Bay. How are you today? Hello, host and chat. Dulce, sad times for sure. L. Hampton, thank you so much. I'll tell you what we're going to do, guys. I'm really eager about pulling the kittens out. I know y'all enjoyed the conversation, and I know you'll watch a lot of my videos. I'd say 1 out of every 10 people say I talk too much, and my lips just keep moving. It's not a problem for me ever. I don't take offense. If you don't like to hear my shitty voice, you don't have to watch my videos. You always have Sally. Sally makes videos. Yesterday, she was an expert at cupcakes. And today, she's going to give you advice on how to fuck your life and how to go out there and get a voucher. And then the week after that, she's going to be a mechanic and give you advice on how to burn your car up. There's lots of clowns on YouTube, okay? You can either get it from a real consultant that's established, and I may talk too much, okay? And I might have a wicked sense of humor, and then I always like to sprinkle a few profanities in there. That way you know that I'm living and breathing, that I don't actually bore you to death. So, anyways, let me show you one of the keys that I've got here. Papa. Hello, Papa. Don't worry, these kittens are not a week old, so they're not dying. Oh, come on, Papa. Come on, let go. This is the big Kiki. He is the biggest one. He's actually much bigger than the standard cats. So, you want to say hello to everybody, Papa? You want to say hello? Come on, Kiki. He did want to say hello, so I'm just going to let him crawl up there. He's been a very busy bee. Last night I was asleep, and the Kikis decided to come out about 3 in the morning to bed. And so I woke up with Kikis all in my hair, and unfortunately they're not toilet trained. So, yep, the bed was wet. Little bitty spots all over the place. So, yeah, rough times when you have kittens. Frank Zing says, need help. No problem, Mr. Frank. I understand your position. You can always reach out to us. Oh, he wants to hang out. What you doing, Papa? He's a busy bee right now. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I think we've talked about EHVs as much as I can. I've posted some links. I'll post them again here for you guys about our company, and we can help you. Again, there's 70,000 vouchers. Roughly 90% are gone. There's only about 9,000 left. We got about 4 months before that burns out, and then we'll be back to tough times, okay? So you got about 4 months to go, and end of the year. Now, for our videos, we do them, let's see, Sunday night movies video is really good. Tuesdays and Thursdays, typically in the morning around 11 a.m. So, all right, guys, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. And I think next time we're going to be talking about seniors and disabilities because it's an important segment of our society. And I think that more issues need to be addressed for housing in that area. Okay. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.